with felt markers, really, and well, and it works out very well for me. I do a full-color series every month in Cavalier magazine, which it goes out to soldiers and the raincoat crowd. That's a skin magazine. As I said, originally I went down into the underground, and I worked with Robert Crumb and people like that, and we started the Gothic Blimp, which was the first underground tabloid paper, comic tabloid. Because at the time I really felt that that's really where it was happening, as far as I was concerned. People like Stan Lee offered me series to do, comic series, and I've always had to turn them down because I really dig my own. I insist on having, first of all my own rights. I'm the only one who's ever been able to protect my rights was myself. Most artists, especially when I first met them, were selling all their rights in New York, all over the place, and to publishers who are very greedy monsters, and they take away everything if they could. But now things are changing in the last few years. And like we're working for the National Lampoon, I have all my own rights. Doing Cheech Wizard, originally it was being considered for Penthouse. Playboy was considering some other series for We. And I finally wound up not being able to work for Playboy because of the fact that they take my rights from me. The characters happen to belong to me, and what I want to develop them into is mine and my ideas. And so living in Woodstock, Jeff Jones and I shared a studio in Woodstock last year, and I got into these higher and higher states of consciousness and wanting to do more and more for wanting to be more and more an artist and more a part of the things that I was creating. And I came up with the idea of this, which is an extension of my art, which is the show that I do. I'm working on a new magazine, or helping to at least organize what will possibly be the first large-scale cult magazine, which will be distributed throughout the United States and here too, I suppose. And I'd like to try and use Cheech Wizard as the mascot for this occult magazine, which would be rather orientated to a mass audience. And Cheech Wizard is becoming so popular, this hat character, that there are fan clubs that are devoting themselves religiously to him. And I started doing the radio show. Again, another extension of just wanting to be as full a cartoonist and as complete an artist as I can possibly be. I treat myself as much like an art project as I do any of my major projects. I am one of my major projects. I didn't look like this a few years ago, and you know, I mean, like when, for instance, when Kennedy was running for president, people thought that people would mistake me for one of the Kennedys at times. You know, congratulations, Mr. Kennedy. Some drunk on the street congratulated me. So that's how I looked back then. But I've changed a lot. And more as I change, there's always the idea of becoming more and more involved and total with the artwork that I do. And that is, and Dave Breger, back in 1960, thought there was no hope for me. That I was a talented young boy, but I insisted on doing like a hat with no features, and doing live, real people with strange cartoons. Referred to myself as a graphic animator because, naturally, I had always really dug the Walt Disney stuff. I even went out and I was working in California for a while, and I never did really make it. I couldn't get in with the studios out there. And now there's no hope at all of my getting in with Walt Disney. I kept trying and trying and trying, and I often think to myself, maybe I better do this. I think to myself, you know, what can make a successful cartoonist. I know so many people who just don't, they just disappear rather altogether. And, you know, I never know what happens to some of the people that I went to college with, and other people who had just as many dreams and just as much talent, I felt, as certainly I had. And some people I meet are tremendous craftsmen. They can draw circles around me. And yet what's the difference, and what's the number that makes a young artist eventually going to be successful? And an awful lot of it is your own projection of your own ideas. The one thing I constantly do this at every college that I go to, or anybody who comes up to me and asks me for hints as to how to do better, how to do his work better. The only way I really push these people, I push these people to always do their own ideas. I have a lot of people who copy my ideas, but there's more people who copy the style and the approach of other people. And if you want to work for Marvel or DC, that's all right. Let's see. I think I'll put a tie on it. But the only way is to do it yourself and do it your way. And I was told that I would never have a market. I was told that I'd never be able to make a living doing the kind of art my way. And the market's there, and the living's there. But I also wasn't just satisfied enough just to be a cartoonist who would just work in publishing, but I wanted to develop other forms of art, other platforms for expression. And as it has worked out with my shows, it's really come across really nice. As a matter of fact, I often suspect that I might get more into performing than anything else. I'll be producing shows specifically for colleges that have not even been published. Right now, the work that I do in my shows has originally appeared in Cavalier and the National Lampoon. I do a whole bunch of Cheech Wizard stuff. If you're familiar with what I'm doing and I do it on stage. Some people, they find it like difficult to digest, but then I try and do a disclaimer before I start and excuse the people out of there who don't that they don't have like a free humor and a free scope of humor, and I get a lot of people who are uptight, like some women's liberationists or something will sometimes approach me in a threatening manner after my show. I was here in Toronto, and I did the World Science Fiction Convention here last year, and they had representatives from Ms. Magazine who left shortly after my show began. But they came back afterwards so that they could rag on me. But he can censor me. Otherwise I won't work. I wouldn't care. I'd give up my artwork, or I'd give up all my paying jobs if I were censored. Because that's the one thing that stopped me. Stan Lee offered me a job, offered me a series, and I told him that I couldn't do it. Mainly because he took my rights, because I didn't mind mellowing my work, but also because of the very, very heavy comics We did a seminar, Stanley and Jeff and Bernie Wrightson and myself did a seminar at Bowling Green a couple months ago. And Stan got up there and he was defending the comics code, you know, and I like, you know, it makes me throw up. 61, when I was really starting, this didn't really exist, this sort of thing. A place to market the kind of work I do. The National Lampoon is something else again. It's just a beautiful phenomena that opened up, and I'm finding it the best platform, as I said. And part of the reason is because there's absolutely no censorship for me. I don't submit pencils to anyone, but I don't there either. Good old Cheech. I invented Cheech. One of the first characters I invented him from the Italian Cici nut is what he's named after. I invented him at 2:30 in the afternoon, September 22nd, 1957. And the radio shows, by the way, are every other week I'll be doing a 6-minute radio show called Bode's All-Color Radio Cartoon, featuring Cheech Wizard and his pals and another all-color radio cartoon, let's say. And I started out at, yes, it's Once Upon a Time at 2:30 in the afternoon again, kids. And it's about Cheech Wizard. The voice that I checked out for Cheech Wizard that really rather automatically grew was it's sort of like it's sort of a takeoff on W.C. Fields' voice, because the Hat himself is this irascible and irrepressible Hat. You see, he's Cheech Wizard is kind of like represents a magician. He really is a magician, and he really does magic. Although it's not the kind of magic that we're familiar with. He doesn't conjure things. He causes things, and he gets away with everything, and gets you know, it's magic, for instance, to get all these broads he gets and things like that. Like, 4 years of fine art at Syracuse University, and did a lot of drawing of took figure drawing and fine art drawing and things like that, and painting. Yet still, I would far prefer cartooning. And cartooning is this: to me, I'm the producer, the director, I'm the stage man, I'm the designer, costume designer, I'm the actors themselves, I'm the set director, I'm the cameraman. And I think in terms of shots, very often in terms of shots of angles and perspective, coming in close on a particular shot to try and get good action and good effects. Very, very animation quality. And everything I do, as a matter of fact, I build a lot of these as models. I actually will build these as characters into model form. All of them must work in 3 dimensions for me. I have 1,500 cartoon characters, which I've designed over a period of years. Most of them have not been published. And like I have a planet thing that was, I have something called Klugerputsch, which is like 500 pages, which has not been published yet. It's not cartoon pages, they're schematics, diagrams, breakdowns, ecology systems of this huge planet and 125 moons, plus drawings of all the moons. Been working there in the heyday of the East Village up over the Fillmore East. And in their heyday, you see, they were really doing well, see, and they paid people off with the strangest ways. They used a barter system very often. And you come in with your artwork and you go away with a couple ounces. But that all went away. The magazine that I did, that I worked on, I was editor of the Gothic Blimp, which was the comic paper. It was busted after the 8th issue, but I only agreed to be, I agreed to be the editor for 3 issues, which I was, because of the lack of getting it together that a lot of the underground people had. They don't have, a lot of people rag on especially Stan Lee, on the bad craftsmanship of the underground artist. But again, it's the ideas. It's always the ideas. If I did shaky lines too, like Bleckman, it's my ideas that would support it. And ideas are unlimited. People ask me, where do you get your ideas? Well, I just tell them, I said, look, if you've ever been stoned, you know what your mind can do. And you're not really seeing the way I work. You're seeing me draw something, but you're not seeing the way I work. And the way I work is, first of all, I procrastinate until the last possible second, which almost every artist I have ever met in my life does. So if you're doing it, rest easy. It's probably one of the only ways you can get there. What's this thing called the tension release trip, where I allow tension to build up tremendously. If I have, like, for instance, I have to go back and I have to do a special. I'm starting a new series for the Lampoon, which will be not every month, but every couple months, called The Machine. It's about a machine society and something I've wanted to do for them for a long time. And I have to go back and do that, and I have like a real deadline on that, and I just finished delivering another set of work to New York and finished recording. And the problem is I can't make myself work until I'm really up against the deadline. And if I got any time at all, I'll goof off. I'm going to accomplish too in my life. And he says, and you better believe it. And he's just starting, right? And I thought, I'll bet you he will. Because like that's the kind of power projection that you want. And it's up to you, power-wise. I can work any place I want. People in New York City, for instance, like they really don't know what the hell they're doing, the publishers. All they're interested in is making a profit. And if you can show them or demonstrate to them or excite them to the point that they think they're going to make some coins, then it's okay, and you're going to get yourself what you want out of it. But it's so bad. Like this occult magazine, I'm not going to have any part in it other than the fact that I really think that it should be done. It's the time to do it. And I'd like to do a cartoon for it or something, just in order to keep a platform, or to keep it open to new concepts. But the whole idea of the occult magazine is to show them that they can make a lot of bread and then try and build something that will communicate to a lot of people, and excite them and interest them and things like that. Imagine cartoons in an occult magazine. I don't mean just my cartoons, but I mean a lot of cartoons, a lot of visuals, a lot of funny stuff as well as heavy stuff. Orange. This is a nice set. I'd like to swipe it. Some of these felts, by the way, last almost indefinitely. I'm still working with some of them that I did when I still work with some of the same pens that I did in 1966 when I started working with felt markers. They last quite a long time. They used to load them up a lot more then anyway. That's really just before they became popular. At the time that I started using them, they were used for comprehensives. Doing the squeaky, streaky little things in commercial art. And I used to fool around with them doing cartoons, trying to get cartoon color, to make it look like it was a cartoon printed, because I had this desire to want to be in print. Going to be doing a toy company and coming out with Cheech Wizard dolls. Some really funny little ones, like a little lizard that you push, and like the little poop dolls, that they used to have out. That had the ears and the eyes pop out, This one has a little erection. This goes poop. So I don't care. I would work absolutely any place that would give me freedom. I don't care what the magazine is, as long as I can have freedom. I worked right next to the wheeling dealing page in the East Village Other, not because like I supported the wheeling dealing pages. I didn't care. I just wanted to work and work free. I used to think I had to be as good as Al Foster before I would really get to any point where I would be I feel acceptable to my work, or like Angelo Torres or Al Williamson or that kind of thing. I mean, that's what I want, or Jeff Jones. I was a fan of Jeff's before I met him. And I felt like I had to arrive at levels of craftsmanship which were really not in harmony with what I found out is one other little thing. Not only do you have style, but you also have levels of reality inside yourself. And when you try to work beyond a level of your own reality, you try and work beyond the level of your own reality, you may never be able to approach or be able to quite get the satisfaction you can by trying to recognize where you really would like to work at. In other words, Blackman works with shaky lines, and that's where he'll take a little drawing and he'll stop at a certain point. What makes you stop at a certain point? What makes me stop and know that I'm done with the hat at a certain point, or any of these? I could have worked the hell out of any of these with thousands of lines. And the thing is I have sort of a reality level, a little cartoon dream world. And once I get my particular drawings up to a particular level, all of a sudden I just know it's done, because it's just clicked inside me. It's like a light has gone on, and this is an acceptable view of the little tiny schizophrenic world inside my head. And other artists do it in their way, and it's sort of like a process of creating something, of creating a real place, a real thing, a real image. First vehicles that I realized that I had invented, which would work for me beautifully, and that is they're stand-ins for men. And the things that I do with them, the really stupid, insane things that I do with these lizards, are just like reflections of what I as a man have not only observed but been doing all my life. The people at the Lampoon, strangely, I had a meeting with them. They don't get feedback like they want to. It's sort of a sad thing, because they get tired. They work awfully hard, and they get a lot of people rag about the magazine, saying that the quality isn't good anymore, and this sort of thing's happening. But they don't see that the wild popularity I do of the Lampoon magazine, because I'm out with the students, and even at their worst issues, I tried to explain this to the managing editor last week. I said, look, even at your lousiest issues are still the only thing going for, like they do bomb issues, but it's still the only thing going on a monthly basis that is of that character, of that kind of satire. And it's just like some of the things those guys are doing. They're such a great group of people to work with. I knew Michael O'Donoghue long before the Lampoon. I knew I was supposed to work at the Lampoon before the first issue was out. Things were just like directed me toward it, and I presented Cheech Wizard to them in the first, and Michael Gross, who's their design director, their advertising, or their art director, but design director now. He didn't like my work, because he had never really read it, and he didn't know that it carried any message. It just looked awfully Walt Disney cartoony to him, I guess. But after he finally got to a point where he was reading a few pieces, and after about a year, I started working for the Lampoon. And I didn't like the Lampoon at first myself. I just thought it was a sophisticated mad magazine. And now, of course, that I've got into it, and I've allowed myself to get more involved with this magazine than I have ever gotten with a magazine before, or a project before that hasn't really been my own project. I didn't start my shows as a result to be an editor and represent the National Lampoon, but it turns out now that I do an awful lot of representing of their magazine. So the thing is that I think that there's room for everything to exist, and there are people who have every right in the world to dislike what they see in the Lampoon, and those people shouldn't read it. And those are the people who shouldn't come to my concert. Oh.